On today's episode of Cheating When Love Lies.
We all know this type of guy, the classic philanderer. Married, good-looking, a successful man with swagger. He has a coterie of hot honeys, both married and single women he claims as lovers. His philandering style is so typical, it rings like a cliché. Instead of making assumptions about this classic playboy archetype, I wanted to get into his head. What drives him to pursue, woo, and ultimately sleep with multiple single and married women, all from the same community, his own community, all at the same time. Some of these women are even the wives of men he knows. Why does he act this way, and how does it make him feel? What are his sentiments about the women with whom he's cavorting? What if a significant number of married men act this way? It was a disturbing thought, but I asked him, "So, Clarke, are you unique, or do you think there are a lot of guys that act like you?"
I would say so. It depends, not being cocky, it depends what you look like, too. I mean, I don't think everybody can operate at my level. You know, the people I've been with, I highly doubt it, but maybe a few of my friends, but that's about it, I would imagine.
I'm Jillian Hamilton. My guest on this episode is someone we're going to call Clarke, who is married and had multiple affairs with married women in his affluent suburban community. Hey, Clarke, thanks for coming in.
Oh, anytime. Glad to be here.
Okay, I want to give everyone a sense of what you look like. How would you describe yourself physically?
Well, ex-football player, not pro, college. Tall, dark hair, green eyes.
Okay.
Better looking than most, not to be arrogant, but better looking than most.
Okay, well, I chose the name Clarke.
Yep, that fits.
Right,
That's
Clarke, Kentish,
Yep.
right? Would you say that's okay?
Yeah, same initial as my real name, so it's cool.
So you're married,
Yes.
but estranged. Describe your living situation with your wife.
My living situation has been for quite some time an Irish divorce, so to speak, where we slept in separate rooms, haven't shared a bed in probably 8 years.
8 years.
8 years, yeah. 8 years, yep.
Do you just not share the bed, but you share the kitchen and all the main spaces?
Yeah. I mean, I just I try to limit my contact with her pretty much because,
You're social distancing.
Yeah, it can turn to a fight at any time, so you just keep your mouth shut. I was out of the house for a period of time and then came back, and, it was kind of somewhat because of finances and just to sort some things out.
What things?
Well, most of all, as I said, it really came down to finances. Also, there are children involved, so there were some issues that had to be sorted out.
Do you have kids?
Yeah, I have one son.
One son. And how does your child receive this? Does your child notice, do you think, that my parents are together, but not really?
He knows. Well, he knows. I mean,
What does he know?
Well,
exactly?
He's seen his mother, act irrational. I'm not being sexist, but he's seen her act incredibly irrational over the littlest things. And
for example?
Just anything. You breathe the wrong way, look the wrong way, answer her the wrong way if he does or I do, and slamming doors and everything else. So, and I've taught him, too, at a young age. I said, listen, you know what? Whatever you do in your life, whether it's your close friends or a girlfriend or wife, always remember you never want to be with somebody who, if you say one little thing, the day is ruined, the weekend's ruined. Someone with a temperament like that, they're not the kind of people you want to have in your life.
So you're saying that in direct reference to your wife. Are you concerned that disparaging your wife in front of your son could be detrimental?
Honestly, I don't think so. I mean, again, I don't want to say really bad things about her, but she said some pretty horrible things about myself, my family, in front of my son to try to hurt me. So I just keep my mouth shut.
Do you feel any sense of responsibility in the dynamic, or you really feel like you're living with a mentally challenged person?
No, she's not mentally challenged.
Okay.
I mean, she, has a graduate degree from a very prestigious school. She's very smart. Where whenever you give somebody the upper hand, it sounds childish, or there's always an issue. Like, let's say, a wife cheats on a husband and the husband finds out, he takes her back, or vice versa. Then they always have something to bring up. You know what I mean? So it's
leverage,
never,
right?
Yeah, so it's never a level playing field. And I live that life, with my wife for a long time and then girlfriend as well. So.
What caused the breakdown in your marriage initially?
It was just, lack of physical connection. Pretty much that was it. It just kind of died out.
I'm assuming that you mean by lack of physical connection, no sex. Yeah. How long were you sexless before?
I found a girlfriend.
Oh.
Yeah, probably. All right, yeah, I don't know, probably like a year or so.
A year?
Yeah.
A year. No sex.
Yeah.
Still sleeping in the same bed, no sex,
Yeah,
and then
no
you
sex.
move to the Irish divorce. I wonder why it's called an Irish divorce.
Apparently Irish never get divorced. They'll live with something forever.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So why didn't you or don't you just divorce now? It sounds like it's irreconcilable.
Yeah, well, I was, like I said, I'd moved out for a period of time, a few years, and I lived with a girl, and that, was volatile as well. I went back, a little while back, and I, part of it was finances, and then you kind of think, I'm living here, I'm tolerating it. If I meet somebody wonderful, maybe I'll leave. It's just like a feeling of uncertainty.
You kick the can down the road.
Yeah, see what happens. I mean,
How did the affair and cheating start? How did you meet that first? The
first one I met, I was, on Main Street in the town that I live in, and I bumped into a woman, coming out of a coffee place, and we started chatting, and she asked for my number, and we were texting back and forth, and then it just kind of happened.
Did you know when you gave her the number, I'm going for it. This is it. This is my affair.
No, not necessarily. I just met her, and we quickly connected, and that was it. It was like, and I hadn't been with anybody in a long time, so it was kind of intense, and then that lasted for about a year, so to speak.
Did you have affairs after that?
Yeah, I did. After this girl lasted about a year, that ended. Then I met another girl, and that lasted about a year.
Describe the women with whom you're having these affairs.
Let's see. The first one, dark hair, incredibly attractive, amazing body, great job, never married.
She was single.
Yeah, she was single. So after a year's time, I was like, look, you know what? Things are a mess. I'm not sure. I'm still friends with her to this day. I mean, we're on good terms. I see her occasionally. I would do anything for her. And that's how I am with almost all my exes, the girls I've had affairs with, except one. But
almost all. How many are we talking here?
Let me say 1, 2. Like there's been quite a few, but I mean, I generally
fewer than 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fewer than 10.
More than 5.
Yeah, definitely. I think maybe 7. I have to count.
7, 8.
Somewhere around there.
Okay.
Yeah.
How would you describe their emotional constitution?
I would say, they seem pretty together on the outside, but I wouldn't say weak, but I would say it's shaky. At times it can be shaky.
What about their level of accomplishment?
They're not working women. They all have MBAs, most of them, and they don't work. So, I mean, definitely college educated, top tier schools. Some have MBAs, and most of them, they raise their kids in their home. And
right, so they're intelligent, educated women.
Yes, very, very much so.
What's the typical length of the affair that you're having?
I mean, one was, like over a few years. I mean,
years.
Years going on. I mean, it's not, look, anybody can, going out, here's the way I look at it, right? Going out and having a one night stand with somebody, you might as well buy a gun, put one bullet in it, and put the chamber in your mouth, because that's the equivalent. I mean, you just don't know.
But why do you say it's like putting a gun to your head? Or someone that picks someone up in a bar, sleeps with them, and they're on a business trip and they never see them again? Why is that like putting
risky.
a gun to your head?
I don't know. It's just risky. You just don't know
health-wise.
the person. Yeah, health-wise. You don't know if you can get a disease. You don't know how crazy they are. For me, it sounds crazy. It's kind of a vetting process. You meet somebody, you get to know them, you develop a relationship. It's not just the physical connection. It's the emotional connection. Now, at this point in my life, I mean, anybody can go online or whatever and sleep with a different girl every day if you wanted to, but it's boring. There's no, you actually feel worse, believe it or not. Like when I was younger, I used to have that life.
How oldish are you, if you don't want to say?
Like 40s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when you were younger, you were saying?
Yeah, when I was younger, I was in college and stuff, and, people do a lot of crazy things. For me, I think as you get a little bit older, if you're out there sleeping with all these different people with no connection, I mean, you want to talk about putting a gun in your mouth. I mean, it's, it's unfulfilling. It's like, it actually makes you feel worse. I know guys.
Makes you feel worse how?
It's just, it's like, what are you doing? It's like, okay, like I have a friend who, he's been married like 3 or 4 times or whatever it is. And he's out every day sleeping with this girl and that girl. I'm just like, how do you have the mental capacity to, like, you know what I mean? To pull it off. There's a certain point in your life where it's like, what's the point? Anyone can do it. The connection is a challenging part. Anybody can sleep with someone. That's like nothing.
Right. Mm-hmm. So where do you find these women that you're having affairs with?
In the community, in the area that I live, it's a pretty affluent area, and the surrounding towns are pretty affluent. So there's a circle of people in 3 or 4 towns that everyone kind of knows each other, from social events to gyms to stuff like that.
Who approaches whom?
It's usually the woman approaches Me.
Really?
Yeah.
How?
Well, there's just...
are these women mostly married or single?
Mostly married.
Mostly married women approach you.
Yes.
Draw that picture for me. I'm at a party. I'm married. I'm with my husband, presumably. I've got my ring on.
Yes. And,
then what happens?
People start talking. You can tell there's like some flirting going on. Your friends, everyone knows each other. Your friends, and so it just comes a moment when you just know. Whether. You have their number or they have your number, and they'll ask you a question.
So they'll give you their number with the husband standing 10 feet away?
No, you've probably had it before that. Everyone knows each other.
Oh, because everyone knows each other. Okay.
Yeah, and they'll ask you a question, professionally, about money management or whatever. And then, or they'll call you for something. You can just tell.
Huh. Really?
Yeah. There comes a point in time where they'll make overtures where, they kind of put it out there and they'll see if you'll take the bait.
Where does the cheating take place? At your house, their house, some other place?
Never their house, never my house. It just can happen anywhere. It can happen,
What do you mean? If it's not your house and it's not their house, hotels?
Yeah, hotels. It can happen at a friend's house. It just depends.
A friend's house?
Like, there's guys I know that travel, internationally, and they're not at their house for a period of time. They're divorced. They're, people are away, or just there's ways to do it.
Why is it never at her house?
It sounds crazy to talk about no honor among thieves, right? To kind of put it mildly. I would never do that. I don't know. It just doesn't sit well.
Okay.
And typically the husband, you may know them, but there's no... I mean, you may know...
How many times do you know the husband? Because you did say it was a small community.
You know who they are, but you don't have a direct relationship with them. Because, look, for me, I mean, maybe over time, if you're in a relationship with them for a year or two and, they eventually find out who you are. But for me... It sounds crazy. I don't feel comfortable being in the same room. I know people who, they'll go to dinner parties and, who's sleeping with who, and they're all at the dinner table together. For me, it doesn't sit well. I'm all about anonymous.
Is it easy for any married man to pick up and decide to do this?
I would say so. I mean, around here, it depends, not being cocky, it depends what you look like, too. I mean, if you're, a decent-looking guy and you're successful, then, it's not very hard. I don't think everybody can operate at my level, The people I've been with, I highly doubt it, but maybe a few of my friends, but that's about it, I would imagine.
So you feel like you're good-looking enough, attractive enough, virile enough to have this kind of lifestyle?
Yeah, I've had it my whole life.
Some may say that sounds arrogant. Would you agree?
I wouldn't say arrogant. I mean, it's like anything else. I mean, I've always taken care of myself. I've always worked out. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I mean, I take care of myself, and and I'm not being arrogant, but I don't know. I've always had a way with women, pretty much, kind of a comfort level. So I wouldn't call it arrogance at all. If you look around at some of the other people in my age group, I wouldn't say arrogant at all.
You would say it's a fair comparative assessment.
Yeah, I mean, not to be cocky, but the numbers don't lie. As I said, the women are usually, like top tier.
Huh. In your opinion, why do these women who have it all risk having an affair and getting caught? What drives them to have an affair with you?
I'll put it plainly. Just imagine you have everything you want in your life and you're still not happy. You have all the money, you have everything, you have the loving husband, the kids, and you're still not happy, and you don't know why you're not happy. So you have everything. And most people would kill for your life, these women, right? Mm-hmm. So they seek out something else, and they try to find the happiness. I think that's pretty much what it comes down to. It's like a piece of pie or something, and they have 90% of it, but that one slice, 10% is missing.
So what about you? What are you hoping to get from the affair?
For me, it's friendship. It's what I don't have from my wife, which I've really never had when things went sour between us, is a friendship, somebody you can talk to, somebody who's encouraging, someone who's loving, someone who's affectionate, all the things that you don't have. Mm-hmm. More importantly, the material things mean zero. If you're not happy and you don't have a clear head, it doesn't mean anything. So it's everything I don't have, and I've had multiple affairs, and, they've become good friends and a part of my life for a long time.
So it must be very painful when it's over because you're losing your friend.
Yeah, well, it's never really over. Like, it'll end, except for one that went sour, but it'll end. You'll end the physical connection, but you'll still remain friends usually.
Is that for you, or would you say that's typical of most of these affairs?
I'm not sure what these guys do. I mean, a few of my friends, they're just in it for the sex, which is like boring, Mm-hmm. I mean, when it ends, you're...
Are you sad?
No, I'm just yawning.
No. No, I meant when the affair ends. Are you sad?
No, because when you have to end it, when they start acting irrational, when they want more.
Have you ever done or not done something that caused a lover to end it with you?
That hasn't happened to me. Like, no one has said to me, I don't want to see you anymore. And there's been times
Never. You've had a lot of ladies.
I'm telling you right now, as God is my witness, it's never happened to me. There's been times where they'll act irrational, and then, you just go silent on them, and then give it like a week or two or a short period of time. But
So, okay, perfect example. You're saying you've gone silent.
Yes.
No one has ever rebuked you for that silence. Clarke, you haven't called me. I can't take this anymore.
No.
Clarke, you haven't seen me. I can't take this anymore.
I haven't had anybody in the 7 or 8 people I've been with in those relationships where they said, I don't want to be with you anymore. I always maintain a friendship.
Do you find that surprising?
Not really. I mean, because,
Why do you think that no one, with 8 different women who are married, that no one ever said to you, even whether it was verbalized, articulated by their actions, I don't want to do this anymore? You don't find that surprising, or do you?
No. I mean, look, they may say it, one day, then the next day they'll text you like nothing is wrong. So,
So someone has articulated that at some point.
They've articulated it, but it doesn't last. It's like a flash in the pan, So they'll act a certain way, they'll be upset, then you just pull back.
So you're saying that they're going to cut you off, but they don't really mean it.
Yeah, pretty much.
How do you know?
Because, they always, kind of circle back around. Or sometimes, look, let them calm down, wait, maybe a week or so to reach out to them. They know that I'm there for them emotionally. I think that's why they don't end, because I'm a friend.
As a friend to one of these women, would there ever be a time as their friend that you would look down on your relationship with them and say, I'm your friend, and what you're doing with me here really isn't in your best interest?
I've said that. I'm like, look, maybe this isn't right for you right now. Like, and here's the other thing too. If you're with someone physically, you can kind of gauge when they're going to flip on you. So, for example, when things are good or things are bad, or if you're with them, you're with them physically, you have that level of intimacy, and then they start acting irrational time and time again after that, then I would say to them, look, why don't we not do this? Like, we don't need to do this. I'm your friend. I'm here for you. So that's usually what I do.
Why are you having affairs with married women? Why not date single women?
Sometimes I do, but, the single women, you tell them your situation. Okay. You start dating them. Then after 3, however long it is.
Wait, so if you start dating them, you're saying that single women are accepting the fact that you are married and living with your wife?
Yeah, you're.
Does that surprise you?
No, that's how it is out there. From what I hear, these stories, the single world, there's a lot of losers out there. I don't mean that to say, there's a lot of...
Who are the losers? The women, the men? Who's a loser? Mm-hmm.
Men. That's what these women say anyway.
What qualifies them as losers?
I don't know. Drinking problems, drug problems, abusive physically. I don't know. I just hear all these stories. None of the stories add up. So what I've heard.
Oh, wait. So you're hearing the stories, but you don't necessarily believe them.
No, I definitely believe them. But, like the single women, if you meet them, you tell them, look, I'm in a bad situation. I've been in it for a while. I'm not sure what's going to happen.
Do you believe that when you say, I'm not sure what's going to happen?
Yeah, because you know what? When you meet this person, if everything's clicking, you don't know how you're going to feel a few months from now. You don't know if you're really going to connect on a deeper level. And maybe it will be that one. Sounds crazy, but like, I'm looking for the one. You just don't know where it's going to go. So
you said before that you have fallen in love and really cared about certain women. Mm-hmm. So why wasn't it that point with one of those women where you could have said, okay, now I'm going to risk losing it all. I don't care what happens. Damned be the world. I must have her.
There was one a while back that I, both of us, she was still is in a stale marriage, a lot of issues. We connected. I'd say we both fell in love pretty quick, and she's still a good friend to this day. But, she has her life, and it's complicated, and finances and family and kids and all that. So, there's a lot that goes into it. If you're going to just press the nuclear option and just blow everything up, and, there's some serious restraints there. If money wasn't an issue, maybe. Even the more you have, the more problems, So you can't just say, okay, I met you, I love you. You leave him, I'll leave her, and let's start over. There's a lot that goes into that. And then
some guys do it.
Yeah, some do. Well, guys do it when it's unbearable in their situation at home. So, for example, I have a situation where I don't bother with her. I try to stay away from her. I pay for everything. when she acts up on me, screaming, yelling, I just keep my mouth shut. Because I know, like, you know, you just can't argue. There's no emotion there. So, you know, I just do whatever. Let her say what she wants.
Would you consider yourself to be abused?
I guess. I don't know. I mean, there's different forms of abuse, you know, narcissistic abuse and personality disorder, borderline personality disorder. I've done a lot of research on that.
You have, because at some point maybe you considered yourself to be an abuse victim.
Yeah,
which
definitely.
is unusual. Really?
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, let me tell you, a lot of these guys, and you can't say it because of the way society is, and
perceives men.
I think that the Me Too movement is incredible. I'm glad all these assholes went down, but at the end of the day, the way society is and the culture, it's like no matter what, the woman's right. No matter what, I mean, whatever you do, you have to keep your mouth shut. No matter what happens to you, you get hit, you have to keep your mouth shut.
Can you see that some people would be at home screaming in their kitchens, in their cars, saying, how can he say that? Women aren't paid the same amount. Women don't have the same opportunities. It's such a patriarchal society. How would you respond to those people? Well,
I would say, particularly in the area that I live, you know, everyone's pretty affluent. So these women, you know, and again, I liken it to a Ferrari that's in a garage that, you know, or stuck in traffic. They're all have high degrees, including my wife, not stimulated, bored, and looking for someone to blame for the problems in their lives. You know, that's what I've experienced.
Let's talk specifically about an experience you've had while married, while living in your Irish divorce with two different women who are also married. So let's call these women Jane and Sue. So Jane and Sue were friends, and you dated both of them without the other knowing 1 year apart. Tell me more about what happened.
Yeah, so Jane was year one.
Okay.
That kind of, you know.
Did you love Jane?
Yeah, I did. She's a really great girl. It became, what's the best word for it? I don't know. We just kind of stalled, and then I met her friend.
What do you mean you stalled?
The relationship with her stalled. She was having issues with her husband, and he was being slightly abusive to her. So she had a lot of stuff going on.
Abusive in what way?
I think verbally, stuff like that, you know, financially. So I was with her for about a year, and then her other friend, Sue, who we were all friends and everybody in the same social circle, was also married but getting divorced.
Okay.
And her and I connected on a friendship level. I didn't tell Jane about it because Sue was still married. Everyone's married, and it's all about being discreet. No matter what, you keep your mouth shut.
Would you say it's more about being discreet or more about safeguarding your ability to have relationships with these two friends at the same time without them knowing?
Eventually it all came out and everybody found out about it. So for me, it's more about being discreet and trying to protect everybody. You know, so let's say, you know, you and I are together, for example, and if you were married and I'm married, then if we were together, I wouldn't open my mouth under any circumstances. So you're kind of sworn to silence, so that kind of protects everybody involved.
So you're dating Jane and Sue, the two friends without each other knowing, and?
So then I started dating Sue, and then, you know, Jane and I were still friends, and then Jane came back into the picture, and then I left Sue.
What do you mean Jane came back into the picture? Would you call her?
No, she, you know, we'd see each other out in social events, and she started pursuing me again, that she missed me, and I kind of missed her, and then she did her best to disparage Sue, which it was a triangle, you know. I was in a triangle for a period of time, and I actually cared deeply for both of them. So
now you're qualifying it as a triangle, but I'm hearing that Sue and Jane are the proactive ones. They're calling, they're coming back. What was your role or responsibility, if any, in the triangle?
Well, I probably should have picked a side. I did at one point, but then over a period of time.
Oh, which side did you pick, Jane or Sue?
Sue.
The second, okay.
Yeah, the second. But Jane would come back in the picture and say, oh, by the way, I heard this about her, you know. So she was...
They would talk about each other.
Yeah, they would talk about each other viciously. So, and you're kind of like, what's real, what's not real?
So Jane and Sue find out about each other?
Yeah. They did.
How did you get caught?
I was at a place with Sue, and Jane came there. And as we were leaving, she was waiting for us. And then she's like, what are you doing here? What are you doing there? And then... You know, it was getting late, so we all had to go. Those two eventually talked, exchanged stories, and then they were on a mission to destroy me. And then I spoke to Sue, and we sorted it out, and I was with her for quite some time.
They were on a mission to destroy you. What do you mean by that?
They were just angry, you know, because they felt like maybe I was, like, you know, with both of them at the same time, which, in fact, I wasn't. There was never a time where I was, like, with them, like, with one day, one the other day.
So you weren't sleeping with them at the same time.
No.
So it'd be like 6 weeks for Sue, and then 5 weeks for Jane, and then 3 weeks for Sue, and then and in your mind that doesn't qualify as simultaneously.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess it does, but I was never I was never with them at the same time. I mean, would have been nice, right? But threesome, it just didn't work out that way.
Would you have liked to have a threesome?
I don't know, and it would have been interesting.
Do you think they would have done that?
I think they were too competitive, literally, in every form of their life to ever do that. But and then there was a point in time where I felt like it wasn't about me; it was about them. You know, about who could one up the other and who could get him back. And,
so you became the quote-unquote prize in their competition.
Yeah, I guess so, if you want to call it that.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, there's a lot of collateral damage, a lot of, you know, rumors and reputations. For
you.
Them, too. I mean, a lot of it, you know, it definitely took its toll on everybody. It became public knowledge.
Really? People in the community know? So you're out at a party and they're saying, there's Clarke, Jane, and Sue. We know what happened there.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
I mean, I wish it was private. It would have stayed private if they kind of leaked it out. So,
what did their husbands? Well, one of them is divorcing and the other's still married. What's the married husband saying?
I don't think he believes it or knows it. I'm not really.
Wait,
sure.
That's a big difference. You don't think he believes it, or you don't think?
I think he's heard rumblings, but I'm sure she told him
squash them.
Yeah, said that wasn't the case.
Between you and me, is he in denial?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But
I mean, he takes one look at you and he's like, that's plausible.
You know, she's a great person. I care about her, but she's also a handful, high maintenance. So he's got his work cut out for him there.
You have referred to some of the women as high maintenance several times. Describe what high maintenance comprises. What does that look like? One
of them in particular, high maintenance is, I'm beautiful, look at me, hair, nails, everything, at the gym 7 days a week, 4 hours a day. And if you're not paying full attention to me every second of the day, then I'll go out, I'll do this, I'll do that. So it's kind of like...
Full attention meaning what? You have to constantly call?
Call, text. You know, it's like a child that you can't leave unattended. And it's really sad, actually. But when someone's a narcissist, which this person was, you know, it's difficult. It's really difficult managing that. It takes a toll on you. It's taken quite a toll on me.
How?
It's exhausting. It's really exhausting.
Why did you put up with it?
I don't know. Maybe it was a physical attraction, or I'm not sure. There was a connection, and then you're like, all right, you know, when I was between these two situations, I was involved with anybody else. So,
do you think you put up with it because it was a reflection on you? You described her as being gorgeous and desirable. Did it make you look or feel better about yourself to have her?
I mean, not to be cocky. I could have replaced her 10 times over. We had a connection. It was a combination. There was a volatility. There was fighting. There was sex. It was just.
Did you like that on some level?
Some level, but it got exhausting. And then it was a triangle. It was about the three of us for so long, so many years.
Do you lie to any of the women you cheat with?
Well, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't. Yeah, I guess you would call it lying. I mean, they asked me, "Have you been with anybody else? Who have you been with?" And I say, "No one," because it doesn't concern them. You know, if I had an affair with you, let's say, and you're married, and I keep my mouth shut no matter what. You have to put a gun in my mouth to get me to, you know, disclose who's who. I just would never do it.
Do you ever think the women suspect that you're lying?
I don't know. They just, you know, they may have asked me, who have you been with, or have you been with this person? I'll say, no, what are you talking about? And if I have been, I would never betray the trust of the person that I was with.
So would you say that untruth, that lie right there, really starts you off on a bad footing? I mean, the relationship is starting off with a distrust.
Well, think of it this way. Let's say it's you and I.
Wait, would you stop with that? There is no you and I.
Let's say it's whoever. Let's say it's whoever it is. And I'm with her and she's married and we become great friends. Ask her the same question. If we just become friends someday and I start with another girl, do you want me to tell her about you? I may be deceiving them, but it's in the past. They don't need to know about it.
Typically, do you leave the affairs or does the woman get fed up and leave you?
There's peaks and valleys, you know, like sometimes I'll leave, sometimes they'll leave, sometimes they'll usually text you all this garbage like this and that.
What kind of garbage?
You know, just how they're disappointed and they take all the problems of their personal life out on you because now you're the new dumping ground. You know, you're responsible for them financially sometimes and you're responsible for them emotionally and everything in their life. So you become like a second husband.
Do you give these women money?
I have in the past, yeah. I've helped them out, yeah.
Significant amounts or just a pair of shoes here?
No, that's real money.
Like
real money.
More than $100 grand?
Yeah, over the time, yeah, I'd say so.
What are you spending this money on?
It depends. I mean, it depends what's going on in their personal life.
Is it a cash payment like, hey,
no, like,
Betty,
there's
here's
no,
10 grand.
No, never. No, if they're in some type of difficulty in their life and you can help them, you'll help them, but it's always dinners and lunches and trips and stuff like that. So.
Why do you break it off, the affair?
Well, sometimes, it just gets to a point where it's just not manageable and it just becomes, fighting. There's no physical connection. It's just aggravation. And when it gets to the point where they constantly have a problem with you, it's like, what? I already have one wife,
Have you ever thought that, I could marry or be with one of these women long-term or forever?
Yeah, a couple of them.
Really?
Yeah, definitely.
So why didn't you do it?
It's just that the timing wasn't right. They're tied up. They have kids. There's private schools. There's a lot that goes into it.
Right. You keep going back to this theme of finance and practicality.
Yeah, because that's what it is. I mean, at the end of the day, the real world is, everybody has their stuff, so to speak.
Imperatives.
Yeah.
How does the affair or the affairs make you feel about yourself?
It makes you feel good, because you don't have anything at home, so it's a nice connection.
Do you ever feel worn out by having to keep up the deception and the charade?
No, not really. I mean, the one that I had was a little trying, but not really. I mean, I always try to be supportive, but sometimes, when it becomes really high maintenance and there's a problem and they're taking all their problems out on you, you take it for so long and then you're like, well, why am I doing this? So.
Do you ever feel used?
No, not at all.
Do you ever feel like a user?
No. I'll tell you something funny, because my wife and I, we had a connection and, we slept in separate rooms. And I used to always joke around and think to myself, like, my wife and I have nothing, but yet I can please all these women, like off the charts. All these women are like, you're this, you're that. And then even in my own house.
Please them sexual and emotionally?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. And then my own wife, I can't, so it's.
Now, how does that make you feel? All these women,
I know, right?
You can make them happy. And the one that's down the hall, you can't. How do you feel about that?
I used to analyze it. It's just a lost cause. Sometimes when it's all about connection and chemistry.
No, I didn't ask you what it is. I said, how does it make you feel?
Oh, it hasn't make me feel. It used to bother me. It doesn't bother me anymore at all.
Why did it bother you?
Well, because I was like, for a very short time.
Did you question yourself?
For a very short time. Very short time.
What were you questioning? Were you questioning your virility?
No, not at all. No, it's just between her and I, it's just chemistry, and when you're with somebody and as soon as they go to a sour place and that type of personality, and I've had it with one of the affairs, it's hard to recover from that, where you're always the bad guy. You always did something wrong, and what's wrong now? So, no, I don't blame myself at all.
What is your role in the demise of your marriage and in the complications in your affairs?
I think I didn't deliver. It's my fault. Because
what didn't you deliver?
I didn't deliver the happy life that she wanted. I didn't deliver the intimacy. I didn't, all the things that she says that I do wrong.
Let's delineate what those are. The intimacy, what else?
Okay. So the intimacy, finances are no problem. She's very comfortable.
Okay.
It's just, I feel like just sometimes you just get picked on, and then you just
No, we're talking from your point of view. If you had to acknowledge, do you feel like you didn't deliver understanding, you weren't there on birthdays, you weren't present in the evening, be as specific as you can be?
I guess I was there, but I wasn't there when things kind of went sour. Where were you? I was there physically, but my mind wasn't there.
Where was your mind?
Anywhere but there.
Was it on work? Was it on
it
other
was
women?
Work. Yeah, work, other women, whatever. It was not there, So, in fairness to her, she's a beautiful woman, very accomplished. We were together. In the beginning, it was great. And, now it's, like I said, it's an Irish divorce, separate rooms.
What pulled you out? What took you out and got you physically present but emotionally absent?
It was a lack of sex, to be honest with you. There was no intimacy at all. It was just constant criticism. So after a while, it just got old. And then, you're out there and you have these friends and these women are in the same situation you are, pretty close. And they provide that level of intimacy that you're not getting. Mm-hmm.
What about in the affairs? In the affairs, what could you do or what did you do to not fulfill the needs of the woman with whom you're having the affair?
I would say, not to be cocky, but I think emotionally, physically everything is great, mm-hmm. but emotionally when they're going through all these ups and downs, you try to be there for them the best you can, but so you're like their second husband, so to speak.
Could you give me an example? Maybe you have an example of when one of the mistresses said, you're not here for me, and maybe you disagreed.
Okay, I'll give you a great example.
Okay.
So during the day, they would always want to get together because that's their free time.
Right.
And I'm working and I'm running a business.
Right.
You know, I'm in finance. And when they're free, it's like you just have to turn it on, and everything else in your life has to drop because they're available. And if you let them down, again, high maintenance, then they get very upset. So I would say I was there for the most part, but there were times where, look, you have to work, you're managing people's money and things like that. And, I guess I wasn't there for them in those cases.
What have you learned about yourself through your experiences with affairs?
I think I've become more of a realist. They say, oh, there's a fairy tale, you'll fall in love. I mean, it's real life, and everybody has their problems. And I think for myself, what I've learned most is not to be so hard on myself, for sure.
Hard on yourself how? How have you been hard on yourself?
By feeling like I'm not there for them, or maybe I let them down, or, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. I think I do a lot for everyone, family, mistresses, everything.
Do you ever feel like you're the one that's getting the short end of the stick?
I would say, there's some days I'm angry, some days I'm weak.
What are you angry about?
Just my life and where I am, and, how I have to reach out to these women for things I don't get at home. And then I have the situation at home that I don't leave because of finances and children. So some days you just
Are you ever
feel like
angry at yourself? Do you ever look in the mirror and say, I have a sense of culpability?
Yeah, of course. No, of course. I mean, look, when I first got married, we had kids, when it was falling apart, I should have gotten out a long time ago, and I didn't. And now, I'm in it. So,
no, I'm not asking you what you should have done. I'm asking you how you felt. How do you feel? You're saying that sometimes you're angry. I appreciate you acknowledging that. Do you ever have a sense of guilt or shame?
You know what? I compartmentalize it so much that I not really. I mean, someday
you never have a sense of guilt.
Sometimes. You mean towards my wife?
Toward yourself for the way that you conduct yourself?
Not really, because you know what? I know it sounds crazy, and your listeners are probably not going to agree with me, but I mean, I just take it day by day. I don't feel guilty, but some days I do get angry at myself, like about trying to balance everything and why I put myself in these situations.
Do you ever feel ashamed?
No.
Never.
Nope.
When the stories come about the mistresses,
no.
If people were to know, you would not feel ashamed.
Yeah, if people were to know, but this is very simple to understand. If it's not me, it's going to be someone else. So they're in that situation. I just, I'm friends with them. And
if it's not Clarke, it'll be Bob or David.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, without a doubt. So that's a fact. If it's not me, it'll be someone else.
Are you going to continue having affairs?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I guess, I'll take it day by day and see. I mean, I do have hope that maybe one day I will meet somebody that just makes me want to pack it all in and just leave my situation and start over.
If you had to use 3 or 4 adjectives to describe how men like yourself, married and cheating with other married women or single women, feel, what would be the 4 adjectives to describe how you guys feel?
Guys like me feel, a lot of people feel trapped. They feel hopeless. They're agitated a lot. And, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I'm hopeless. I'm agitated. I don't know what else.
Sad.
Sad. Yeah. Okay. Sad. Yeah. It just
Clarke,
depends,
in those 4 adjectives, none of them were optimistic, joyful, or hopeful.
Yeah, I think that's for sure because, when you're in a situation like I am, you can have your separate life, but when you go home is when reality hits. So you can have these great days and great nights, but when you go back home, sometimes reality hits you in the face. Would
you recommend having an affair to anyone, woman, man, married, single?
I guess I would say, to some of the guys I know, I tell them, look, it's like having a second wife and there's a lot of headaches, and be careful because, if you're sloppy, it can blow up and your whole life can be destroyed.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay.
I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Some people are going to say, oh my God, this guy is so pompous. I can't believe him.
No, not at all. I'm not pompous at all. I'm the last person who's pompous. I'm just, I'm fortunate. I'm very, just fortunate I have my health. I have a decent life and just try to make the best of it.
Thank you so much for being here.
Okay, thank you.